Much has been discussed about why we've been studying a change in our conference affiliation. It comes down to two pillars: access and exposure. Being independent increases access to our national following of fans. Every home football game and men's basketball game will now be carried nationally. And we'll be free to broadcast our Olympic sports games as we desire, as often as we please.
Whether when BYU knocked off Miami in 1990, the 4 Holiday Bowls we did, the 5 straight Las Vegas Bowls, those games just really made a difference for us and really cemented our position as a college football network going forward. So we are really anxious to rekindle that partnership and be able to come back to Provo, obviously, with every game here going forward over the next 8 years. That's just a tremendous addition to our college football schedule.
So Jason, in your mind, think this. In 2011, BYU will be playing right here in LaVelle Edwards Stadium, just like they always do, 65,000 people in the stands, but they'll be an independent. And that's what we found out today at the news conference. We knew that yesterday, but made official today, BYU independent in football, joining the West Coast Conference in all of their sports, and it's just a monumental day for BYU athletics.
It's really amazing. I was talking to Dave Brown, a guy who handles programming at ESPN. I said, are you at all surprised, and that was my word, that this has come full circle? It seemed like 5-6 years ago, BYU fans were frustrated with ESPN. There were the weeknight games, there were the late night tip-offs on Monday night for basketball, and Dave Brown says back to me, 5 years is a long time, and truer words are probably never spoken about this thing, just as far as not only how far the college landscape has changed in 5 years, just this summer alone with conference realignment, but how far BYU and its athletic department has come in 5 years. And they seem to be in the position they want for exposure. It looks like ESPN's going to help them get games. They're going to have relationships like you talked about with the West Coast Conference, and also getting other football programs that want to play them. BYU sees some risk, but they see it as a calculated minimal one at this point.
There is no conference, all tournament or all conference teams, or a championship for that matter. I believe, as I've spoken with Bronco and the football program, that what trumps those all-conference teams in the championship is the opportunity for exposure and access. We can go out throughout the country, play as many teams and the storied teams, and be on national television and strive to be the very best we could be. We felt that there were certain limitations where we were in the position we were. Now we feel that we control our own destiny. So going forward, we will sacrifice some of those things that you mentioned, but the vision of what we can become is the bar is raised higher, and we love that.
So 2 big things out of this news conference: BYU with an 8-year deal with ESPN to broadcast many of its home games, and also a 6-year setup with Notre Dame. Sometime between 2012 and 2020, BYU and Notre Dame will play 6 times. Those are 2 very large announcements when you're moving forward as an independent.
And I can tell you, we've been to Notre Dame together. I've been there 3 times. I'm very grateful for that for work. And you can make fun of Notre Dame and everything and say, oh, they're overrated, oh, they've struggled lately. It's a special place. And if you can get them on your schedule and build a rivalry, build a relationship with them, that's all the better for your own program. And everything we're hearing is Notre Dame is very excited to have another independent on board, especially one that has the faith-based caliber of BYU.
One of the things that helps us is that we are a national school. Students come from all over the country to come to BYU, and thus our alums go out throughout the country back and forth. I think there's many schools that will have played in the past and will play in the future that realize when BYU plays a game on the road, our fans will be there to support our team. People like that. As I said, as this news has started to leak out, schools have begun to call me to say, let's go. Come back, or let's start something so BYU can come out and we can come out there.
All the other sports at BYU will be joining the West Coast Conference, including men's basketball, and we had a chance to listen to Dave Rose today. What did he have to say about that move?
Dave Rose is really excited about this.
Well, I think they have a great partnership with ESPN in their men's basketball. And that's, I think that has really helped Gonzaga. And St. Mary's and Randy Bennett has done a terrific job in kind of building that. I think Billy Greer had a great year a couple of years ago at San Diego, and they had 3 teams in the tournament. I think 2 or 3 years ago. So it's a extremely competitive league, but they have a real commitment to men's basketball, and that's exciting for us.
You know, they're no stranger to the WCC teams. They've played a bunch of them in recent years. The only one they haven't played is the big dog, and that's Gonzaga. But that's going to change. I know that Dave and the Zags coach Mark Few have talked the last few years about trying to work out a series. Things have come up with those teams trying to go separate directions. Now that ESPN is back on board and the West Coast Conference, you obviously get Gonzaga in the league, but they're also going to get some big names. I think you're going to see more ACC Big 12 teams come not only to the Marriott Center, but Dave Rose the last few years has really loved the ability to have Energy Solutions Arena in Salt Lake, and I wouldn't be surprised not just to see a game there with BYU, but maybe you get a doubleheader going on with Utah, which has been talked about in the past. Bring those games in. You know, I asked Dave, and I think he was kind of miffed about the whole fans being upset about the 10 p.m. game, and Dave said back to me that he doesn't remember fans griping about that. Well, I can tell you they did. Fans
Just
did,
not to him.
Fans didn't like wearing their pajamas to the games and everything, but I think BYU sees the exposure. They want to limit those real late night tips, but it's mostly a Thursday-Saturday agreement in that league, and it's obviously an area going west that BYU recruits to, so it should be an advantage.
The two main reasons behind all of this, exposure and access, and those two items have been addressed, I think, very well by BYU. For more on this and more on the BYU Washington game, which, by the way, is coming up Saturday, you can go to CougarBlue.com or HeraldExtra.com, and we will see you there.